Destro here, coming at you with another how-to video. This one is going to be a redo of my old Warlock video. This is another update on an older video. There was a lot of negative feedback on my video as far as talents, stats, and just different things like that. The quality sucked on it. So that's what I'm kind of going through and redoing all of those videos, doing an update and doing a more in-depth explanation as to what and why I run this this spec and everything. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I will be going over talents, glyphs, rotation stat, just different things like that, giving you advice on what to use with talents and everything else. So hope you enjoyed. Let's go right into talents. First talent I run is Searing Flames. I like Searing Flames just for the fact that I'm so used to using my Ember Tap to heal up. I did get spoiled with that in Mist of Pandaria, so that's why I use Searing Flames. Now remember, this is a personal preference guide. This is what I found that works for me, that I use no matter what. There's only a few talents and everything that I'll actually change up, but this is the spec that I run that I love and that works for me, and what lets me do all of my damage as my destro lock. The next talent is Shadow Fury. This talent really depends on what kind of comp you're running. If you're running a comp, whether it be in RPGs or arenas, if you're running a comp that runs a lot of fear, you might want to run Shadow Fury just to throw in a stun there so the DRs don't collide with each other. Same thing, if you run a comp that has a lot of stun in it, then you might want to run Howl of Terror just to have that fear. Mortal Coil, I used to use it for my opener. Not as much anymore. Yeah, I don't really ever see Warlocks use that, and I wouldn't recommend it either. The next one is Dark Bargain. I use Dark Bargain because if you ever end up sitting at base or something like that, it's a good thing to have if you get a rogue on you that's going to try to sap cap you. It's a good thing to have. Yes, it does give you 50% of the damage you take back over 8 seconds, but overall I like this talent. I see some Warlocks use Sacrificial Pact. I don't like it just because it sacrifices your own health if you don't use a pet. And most of the time with Destro locks, you want to be running Grimoire of Sacrifice, so you won't be using a pet anyway. Now I can see it a few patches ago, because one thing you used to be able to do is you used to be able to run Grimoire of Sacrifice, have your pet out, and use, say, your silence from one of your pets, and then you would be able to use Grimoire Sacrifice, and it would reset the cooldown of that pet ability, whether it be your silence, dispel, whatever. It would reset the cooldown of it so you could use it again. I can see Sacrificial Pact there, maybe, but now it's really, I don't like it just because it sacrifices your own health. And if you find yourself solo leveling or something, or solo questing, just anything like that, Soul Link is good for Grimoire Supremacy, and I believe Soul Link also increases your health if you run Grimoire Sacrifice. I believe it does increase your health. The next one is Unbound Will. I like Unbound Will because I don't use a movement impairing trinket. I never have as a destro lock, only if it's the only trinket that I have right there. Then I will, but most of the time I will get double DPS trinkets, and I will explain those to you in a little bit. Burning Arrest is really just a PvE thing. You really wouldn't want to use that in PvP, just because it uses your own health, and I don't like it. Most of the time you wouldn't have a healer by you that would be able to heal you through it. The next one is Blood Horror. I see a lot of Warlocks use Blood Horror. It is a good talent. If you've used to using this, and you've used it before or something like that, go ahead and keep using it. It's a good talent. It helps against warriors, DKs, just different things like that. It's a good talent to have. Now the next one, Grimoire of Sacrifice. Like I said before, if you're geared up and ready to go as a destro lock, you want to be using Grimoire of Sacrifice. It is the talent that you want to run that's going to give you the most damage no matter what. if you're just hit 100 or something and you're not very geared, Grimoire Supremacy does help. It helps fill that void for the CCs and the Dispel and just different things like that. So if you just hit 100 or you're gearing up, Supremacy is good. Service is, I wouldn't even use Service. Maybe for demo, I know a good burst for a demo lock with Grimoire Service, but other than that, you want to use Sacrifice. Now, the next one. The next talent, it's kind of up between Darkness and Cunning. Sometimes I use Cunning. The last how-to video I was using Cunning, and a lot of people said it wasn't really a DPS boost. No, this isn't supposed to be a DPS boost. This is supposed to be a utility for all three specs, actually, except Manaros Fury, which is a crappy talent all the way around. I wouldn't recommend it no matter what. The next one, Archman's Darkness, that's a good one to use. I use it now. I switch up between Darkness and Cunning, depending, just depending on what kind of mood I'm feeling, really. But check them out, see what you like. They're both good, so play with them a little bit and find out what you like. The next one, Charred Remains. I use Charred Remains because Destro Lock, the way I build mine is for pure burst. My Destro Lock in RBGs is really for a melee comp. Melee comp is good because you have that burst and just different things like that. So Charred Remains helps with that burst spec. I don't see too many Warlocks using Cataclysm. I wouldn't recommend Cataclysm myself. And Demonic Servitude is more of a PvE thing. Now, like I said, I don't PvE. I don't like PvE. It's not my thing. So that's what I run for my talents. If you have any questions about them, please leave a comment below and I will answer either in the comments or in a new video. Now, let's move on to Glyphs. Glyphs there's a lot of different ones that you can use as far as PvE, PvP, Arena, RPGs go. It just depends. But the three basic ones that I use that I don't really change that much are Glyph of Havoc. I like Havoc because it lets me get those extra Chaos Bolts off if I want to down 2 healers or just put pressure out on a couple of people. That helps. It gives me an additional Chaos Bolt to be able to use. You can also use it with your Fear, Immolate, Incinerate, Conflagrate, different things like that. So it's really nice to have. Glyph of Conflagrate, I like it because if you don't run Glyph of Conflagrate, you would have to, as you see here, you would have to Immolate someone, you would have to cast Immolate, and then you would have to cast Conflagrate in order to get that snare. With the Glyph, you don't have to use Immolate, you can just Conflagrate and get it, it's good. The next one I use is Dark Soul. I like Dark Soul because I tend to be able to get my burst out before the time duration of Dark Soul anyway, and plus it reduces the cooldown. So I like it. It's for me. That's what I like to use in my burst macro. I will also give you all of my macros to my Destro Lock in the description below, so please go check those out after the video and they should be able to help. And then the minor glyphs are pretty standard. You can use them for whatever you want. Those are just a matter of personal preference. So we can go ahead and move on to stats now. A lot of people in the comments from my last video I noticed said that Crit Strike is the better stat to stack, but I promise it is not. Mastery, Crit does increase the Chaos Bolt damage, but Mastery increases it more. As you can see, Mastery increases the effectiveness of burning ember consuming spells by 80.13%. That's so much better than the Mastery stack. Mastery is good, Mastery helps. Yes, your what's the spell called? Hold on. Your Dark Soul does give you crit, and that does increase your Chaos Bolt, but Mastery is a stack that you want to be stacking. Haste is more of a demo affliction thing. I don't really like it. Maybe in Mist of Pandaria, where your Chaos Bolts were really hard to get off, but now they're easier and not as difficult to get off. Yes, you still have to hard cast them. Yes, you still get interrupted, but Haste really isn't all that great. Spirit doesn't do anything, or, well, yeah, Spirit doesn't even do anything for you. Multi-strike isn't a good thing in PvP. I've said the same thing in my Resto Druid how-to video because it has a 2-minute internal cooldown. That means once, like say your Chaos Bolt or your Confligate or whatever spell you have, multi-strikes, that turns it into a 2-minute cooldown, and even after that cooldown is up, you still have only however much multi-strike you have as a percentage to crit strike, of the chance to crit strike. And versatility, I don't really use versatility. Maybe if I did more arenas, I'm sorry. Maybe if I did more arenas, then yes, I would use more versatility. I use versatility because I do arenas on my druid, and that's solely why I have versatility. And like I said before, I would explain my trinkets to you. Yes, I know I have 2 mastery trinkets. Yes, it's probably a bad thing to do, and I apologize for all of my gear. I am still in 660 gear. I have been maining a warrior on Alliance just because I'm not a fan of Horde right now, but all the gear and everything for a lock will still be the same as far as stats and everything that you want to stack. And one tip, a lot of destro locks use their set bonus. The only set bonus now that really matters would be your first one. Other than that, it doesn't really help, especially with my playstyle that I have. It really wouldn't. I don't rely on my incinerate or anything like that, except maybe my dot or Chaos Bolt or Shadow Burn for my damage. That's where all of my damage comes from, and I will explain that to you after I do the stats and the gear and all that. So all the gear is the same. I know mine's in all 660s. I only have a few pieces, and my trinkets right here. I do not recommend using 2 mastery trinkets. I would get a mastery trinket and a proc trinket, or a movement pairing trinket. Other than that, please don't stack 2 mastery trinkets. That's just me, my goofy self doing that. Please don't do that. And then we can go ahead and jump right into the rotation. It's good to spread around your immolate, because immolate crit strikes do generate burning embers, and that helps with your being able to cast your chaos bolts out faster. So what you want to do is immolate anyone you can, and then start building up embers with incinerate. Once you have, you can do it at 3 embers. Because I'm greedy, I like to use all 4 embers. So once you build up embers, you can go ahead and use your burst macro or whatever you have, burst macro, and start laying into people with Chaos Bolt. Now, the numbers out of combat are pretty low, plus I am not buffed up right now. I don't have a flask, I don't have food buff, I don't have anything. So numbers are really low, and we're out of combat, but I promise the numbers will be increased in combat once you're fully buffed and everything. I promise I will actually put a video up with my luck, showing you, even in my crappy gear, that this playstyle works. That will be my next video, or a video after that, but it will be coming up soon. And as far as your Shadow Burn goes, if anyone's below, I believe it's 20%? Yes, 20%. If anyone's below 20%, use Shadow Burn over Chaos Bolt. If your Shadow Burn's lit up, spam it. Doesn't matter. And you do get your embers back, plus 1 more from what you spend on it. It's really nice to have. And if you'd like to build more embers up, or just put your dots on a bunch of targets, that way you get the crit strikes from your immolate. One good thing to have is Fire and Brimstone. You have to have embers to use it, but it's a good way to build up embers after you do use it. Now, with your Charter Mains talent, you can use Fire and Brimstone with Chaos Bolt. I don't recommend it. I've only done it a couple of times, and I wasn't impressed. It does hit around 40k to each target, which is good, but it uses 2 embers whenever you use your Chaos Bolt. Now, if you just do it with one of your other spells, it doesn't use all that much. See, I can put my dots on whoever's around me. I can also cast my Incinerate or Conflagrate, just depending on whatever I want. And then of course you have your set focus macros, your HAVOC. HAVOC is actually a weird topic. A lot of warlocks don't understand how HAVOC works, but I will explain this to you. Let me set focus to this other dummy. See, I have a set focus. I do have my HAVOC set focus, so I don't have to just switch targets. It automatically goes to my set focus target. So what you do with HAVOC is you build some members up, just like you're gonna do regular DPS, and then once you don't even have to use your burst macro with it. I usually do use my burst macro with it, but once you build embers up and have your burst macro up, go ahead and use your burst macro, HAVOC, and then Chaos Bolt, and it'll cast Chaos Bolt on both of the targets for the same amount of damage. It's really nice to have. That's where your Glyph of HAVOC comes in. HAVOC gives you an extra charge, so you can cast 2 Chaos Bolts instead of just 1. You can also use your HAVOC for your Incinerate, Conflagrate, and whatever else. You can use it with most of your spells. And that is pretty much it for a Destro Lock guide. If you have any questions, let me know. And also, I will be leaving my macros and stuff in the description below. So check those out, see if they help. And like I said, if you have any more questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll either answer in the comments or make a new video for it. Until next time, see you later.